interested in all
And
of
can
that.
I ask, what is the difference between school in now, which is 2022? What is the difference in school in the 2022 versus school back when you was born in the 1920s?
In the school, I went to school in the 30s.
Okay, you went to school in the 30s.
Well, college
What is
in the 30s.
Okay, in college. But what is
And-
the difference that you see?
Well, the difference in schools is today you have everything is technically done, and everything's kept in the records by your computer.
Okay.
And the books are nice, and you have your nice and clean books with covers on them, and you can just learn.
Okay.
But that's why you start telling students that it's. Yeah, I just stop and talk to them and tell them of yesteryear, and they look at you. Oh, I can't do that. I said to myself, you could do that if you wanted to be somebody.
Right.
So I always wanted to be well, my parents always stressed, let's move on.
Okay.
But we won't be, you won't be held back, like taking you shopping.
Right.
Well, there's a difference in you had to take your own water if you could read that water, because if you couldn't drink from the fountain.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. So if you went shopping,
you couldn't drink, and if you some did slide if there was one fountain and it was there that says whites only.
Okay.
So you don't drink from
So
that
you
fountain.
couldn't drink if you went shopping with your family. You had to take your very own water.
Yes.
Because you could not drink from the whites only fountain.
No, you can't drink from that fountain. There's somebody standing there watching. To make Sure.
And what would happen if you dared to go try, or if you did drink from that fountain?
I will be. I don't know what really would have happened. I imagine they would have been scolded by the whites, or maybe I don't know what they would have done. I understand that there was a slipping that they would kind of drink. There was another fountain. No, they didn't have any water fountains at all.
Okay, so they didn't have any water fountains for blacks only.
They were only
water fountains for white only.
Okay, and the same way about the toiletry. If you plan to stay in your city shopping for, let's say, 2 hours or 3 hours, be sure you go to your bathroom before you leave your home.
Because there was no bathroom for
you
blacks
go there,
only.
No.
So they only had a bathroom for white only to use. So if you was out of luck and you really had to use the bathroom,
you couldn't use
it.
I don't know what you would do.
Oh.
So you just have to do what you do. Do what you have to do.
Do what you have to do.
So you strive on. So as I went on to school, and let's say I completed that now.
Okay.
College. Plays, did well there, did this and did that. Now, out of school, I was asked, taught school, little school with 2 teachers.
Okay.
And the same thing is, I came up. She was the cooking, and then I taught all normal grades there. And that school. And finally, I kept going to school.
Okay.
And I kept learning, writing, and going to workshops.
Okay.
That sort of thing. I kept improving myself. In Oklahoma, there was a family. This family had 3,000 acres of land.
Ooh, that's a lot.
And they were black, the Elliots.
Okay.
So
you meaning there's a black family in
yes.
Oklahoma that had over 3,000 acres of land?
And my mother, one of the Elliots married a tall Elliot.
Okay.
And I was very young. I think I must have been that age. Must have been 19 when I'm tall and I married.
Okay.
And they were very fond of me. I was very fond of the Elliot. My family and the Elliot family grew very close to each other. So in doing that, with the family with the Elliots and the Nashes, we grew very, very close, and then that's when one tall married was very fond of me, and they were very happy that he married me.
So can I ask you? Can you tell me a little more about when you got married? His name?
Yes.
Yes.
I married at 19, I believe it was.
At 19, and when you was 19 years old?
18 and a half years of age.
Okay.
19.
And what was his name?
Tall Elliot.
Todd?
T-O-L. Tolly.
Tolly.
Tolly Elliot. The Elliot family.
Elliot. Okay.
The Elliot family. I would go there and work in the store.
Okay.
They were the first one of the stores.
Okay. And
owned
what
by
state
them
was this?
in Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Okay.
You'd have to drive to Muskogee, which
Okay.
was about 10 miles from Fort Gibson. And the Elliots had a store, and it was a big store, department store.
So did you marry into money?
Into fame.
Or in that time, a black person that had a little more.
Yeah, they had fame. They
had fame.
Yes, they had.
Okay.
So they had a number of that property was destroyed by that riot.
The riot.
Because they had one member of the family had a place, had a pharmacy store.
When you said one of the properties was destroyed by the riot, could you elaborate on that a little more for us?
Well, yes. I was told a lot about the riot. Homes were built there. They were destroyed. The Elliott's store was destroyed in Tulsa, Oklahoma. People, the sister-in-law told me, the Elliott sister told me about, she was alive and that she remembered she lived in Tulsa. And her husband was a doctor, and his office was destroyed. It was down on Main Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yes, and it was destroyed there.
I think we heard something about that.
So, yes, you heard about
the riot.
So a lot of the things were destroyed by them.
I think people nowadays don't realize there are still people that are living, that are still alive, that during the riots.
Yes.
Right. They don't know of anybody that that's still living, or anybody that they know of. And the other part about this, it's almost like it never happened.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
they don't talk about it, or they don't write about it.
No.
It's not written, and you're not taught that in school about the riots.
Right, and a number of blacks. They said about 3,000 blacks were killed.
Oh my God!
So
you're living proof that it did happen.
Oh yes.
Oh.
It really happened.
It did happen.
I was told
everyone.
that it happened. That property was destroyed. The Dr. Napier and my brother-in-law had an office destroyed.
Okay.
His
Tell
medical
the viewers,
office was
because
destroyed.
this is something most people try to whitewash, or they
Yeah,
try to
there's
say
no
it
need
didn't
to
happen.
whitewash because it did happen.
Well,
So-
let them know it did happen,
Yes.
and you're living proof of it.
Yes, you had to. I didn't. I guess my parents and theirs too. You just didn't. You knew when you were going to town
Okay.
that this was really segregated, and then I told you about
Right.
the arm.
Right.
I was awakened when I couldn't. The doctor couldn't see me
Right.
for 4 days,
Okay.
a week.
Okay.
1 week and then of course that was pain, and of course my arm.
So
is
you
not-
actually had to wait to see a doctor.
Oh yes, you had
because
to wait.
of your
And-
you being a black woman,
Yes,
a black kid.
Black
You couldn't
kid.
just go in.
No, blacks
uh,
couldn't go.
You couldn't just go and
But-
see a doctor.
but then-
You had to wait until the doctor can see you, or if he want to see you.
Yes, you had. That was his time. That
It-
was his.
His time.
That was his time. He saw blacks on a Thursday only.
So if you get
I don't
hurt
care how
on
I
a
heal.
Sunday, you have to wait all the way to Thursday
Yes.
to see the doctor.
Yes.
Only.
Yes, indeed.
Can you
had to
imagine
do-
that?
You had to do whatever you had to do to kind of manage it.
So you
Keep
suffer
yourself out
in
of pain. Yes, I did. But my parents were so loving. They did some kind of old remedy, catnip tea and catnip stuff that they rolled my arm in with something with
Yeah.
whatever it was, it did
Yeah.
ease the pain. But
Right.
they kind of did something to kind of hold it to keep you from falling apart, I guess.
So being in if you was born in 1923 or 1930s,
1921 was the time of the riot.
1921 was the time
of the
riots.
And I was born in 23.
and she was born in 1923.
So-
but if you was born during that time, if you break an arm or anything like that,
Oh, yeah.
you would have to wait days or maybe a week before the doctor can
Yeah,
see
yeah, yes. And because we lived out near the country area. So we lived in the country, and it was there that you lived. The Elliots are married, and I was Myrtle Nash Elliott.
you. Okay.
Then Todd Elliott. Now we have a relative named after him now,
Okay.
and he's at Johns Hopkins. He's a doctor at
Oh,
Johns
okay.
Hopkins Hospital. That young man, and he comes to see me down here.
He still comes to see
He-
you now.
He's a little tall.
Okay.
Yes, he comes. My
Now-
husband is dead,
Okay.
and then
When you
was
married Mr.
Elliott.
Elliott, was there any kids? Did y'all have any children
Oh,
born from there?
yes.
From that marriage?
No, we
No,
had no children.
kids. Okay.
From that marriage, we had no children. My sister Bessie was married to a student who was a very fine young man
Okay.
at Langston, and they had a cottage at Langston.
Okay.
Thing, and that's when she was pregnant with Bessie,
Oh.
and they came up, and see the hospital. It was Tulsa, Muskogee Hospital.
So that's where Betsy, our Betsy that we know of today.
That's she
That's-
named them, and I
right.
said I want them, and I was in school when this happened. She died
Okay.
at birth.
Okay. So Betsy,
So Bessie was a
Miss Betsy died at birth.
Her mother died
Her
at birth.
mother died at
And
birth.
Bessie, I thought she was dead. They thought, but they saved the child.
Okay. And so that's the one that you raised from
and I
birth.
said, I want this babe, give her to me. So I kept Bessie.
Okay.
I raised Bessie from birth. My mother kept her until she, while I was teaching her,
Okay.
Maybe until Bessie got into some kind of, maybe the fourth. I kept Bessie in the 7th grade.
Okay.
That's when I took her.
Okay, in the 7th
But I
grade.
kept her. Like I said, I bought little cute dresses for Bessie, and we would go over there and talk. We wanted to have her change names. My mother-in-law, Mrs. Elliott, Mother Mary Elliott, wanted us to adopt her, name her, and Elliott put her as an Elliott because she looked like one, and she didn't. So she wanted to adopt the Elliott name, but we didn't do that.
Okay.
We kept her with her own name, and I just read a school to travel with her, took her everywhere.
So that's the Betsy I know
That's the
that
Betsy,
I call my
yes.
sister.
Yes, that's
Yes.
your sister.
We're family, Betsy.
Yes. So